But that's another day. That's another story. We got to get past game one first. We shall see how it goes. Arizona versus Kershaw tonight. Don't you know that is must-watch TV wherever you are? I can't wait to see what or how Kershaw approaches Arizona. And Brousseau has also been a great right-handed bat. I think he may be, I'd say, underestimated. I think Brousseau could be, I'm going to go and predict him. I think Brousseau's bat tonight is the bat to watch for Tampa. As I think Bellinger and Seager are that important to LA, I think Brousseau will be for Tampa. We shall see. So let's give a prediction. Are you ready? I'm going to go with the Rays in game one. I'm going to say Glasnow does pitch his game. The Rays come out. They win game one. That'll prepare us for game two. Okay, so let's move on to a little fantasy football this morning. I'm going to go through some players of the week, if you will. I'll tell you about a team I've got. I'm in a league with 14 teams. I've told you that before. Very competitive. It's called the Justice League. And it involves a bunch of lawyers and judges. Or in my case, I used to be a judge. How about that? So it's really competitive. I start the year losing one. I think my first head-to-head this year I lost by 4 points. I had 3 players get injured in the same game. Kittle got injured for San Francisco. James Conner got injured for Pittsburgh. And Van Der Esch got injured for Dallas. All in the first quarter. I lost by 4 points. You got to figure if they play, I'd win again week one, right? Didn't happen. Week 2, I lost by 1.5. And I've won 4 in a row since. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But look at some hot fantasy players this week and who, if any of these, may be available in your league. Now, most of these are not available in your league, but I want to ask you a couple of questions because Derrick Henry is not available, scoring over 40 points this week with 212 yards rushing. He's not available. Let's don't talk about that. Justin Jefferson from Minnesota, probably not available. As I go down my list and look at players who played well this week, how about Phillip Rivers, quarterback for the Colts, who a week ago was all but washed up. And this week, Phillip Rivers passed for 371 yards, 3 touchdowns, and in my half-point PPR, that was good for 28.64 points. Did you watch the Cowboy-Arizona game last night? Okay, if you did, and you have a player, either you or a player in your league who has Kenyon Drake. Late in the game, Drake is handing the ball off. He runs untouched for a touchdown. 60-some yards, TD, late in the game. It didn't matter. But if you're a fantasy player this morning, it did matter. In a league that I am in, this one league, I looked at it, took a screenshot of it. Right as the touchdown was scored, there's a little delay in the scoring. It showed the team without Drake, the chances of winning were 99%. A few moments after Drake scored the touchdown, it flipped to 99 the other way. I mean, can you imagine being a Drake owner, if you weren't, watching him score that and then it changing your fantasy week from a loss to a win? He may be available in waiver wires across the world because Kenyon Drake has not been doing very well of late. But last night in my league, he scored 28.4 points. Jimmy Garoppolo, quarterback for the 49ers. 3 passing touchdowns on 23 completions. 25.82 fantasy points this past week. And a changing of the guard in Detroit. Adrian Peterson has been the running back of choice of the Detroit Lions coaching staff. This week, DeAndre Swift, the rookie, gets more touches. DeAndre Swift had 2 rushing touchdowns, 116 rushing yards, 3 receptions, 25.8 fantasy points. Ronald Jones. Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay played Green Bay. Green Bay jumps out to a 10-0 lead against Tampa. Aaron Rodgers is cooking with gas. And then that's it. No more scoring. Tampa scores like 38 more points. It was incredible. 38-10. 38 unanswered points. And at one point, while down 10-0, I watched Tom Brady on the sideline go over to his teammates and just chew them out. Yeah. And from that point on, it was all Tampa, nothing Green Bay. And Ronald Jones, the second, 2 rushing touchdowns, 113 yards rushing, 2 receptions for 25 fantasy points last week. Christian Kirk last night, 2 touchdowns for Arizona, 21 fantasy points. And how many of you guys have ever heard of Anthony Firkser? Anthony Firkser, tight end, backup for Tennessee. Their regular tight end out last week with an injury, and Anthony Firkser steps in with a touchdown on 8 catches, 123 yards, 21.3 fantasy points. And then finally, these are players that could be available on waiver wires. Another tight end, Trey Burton for the Colts, scoring over 20 fantasy points with a rushing touchdown, a receiving touchdown, and 58 yards through the air. So these are just some players to keep your eye on if you have a fantasy team with need of a tight end. I've mentioned a couple there. With need of a quarterback, we're getting into the the bye weeks. And the bye weeks mean you have roster spots available. In my league this week, I had the Indianapolis defense. They're on bye this week. I went and picked up the Tampa Bay defense. There's a good reason why. I watched Tampa Bay play against Green Bay Sunday. And, first of all, there was no preseason, as you know. So it's taken a few weeks to work the kinks out. Tampa Bay defense, fast, hungry. They're playing my Raiders this week in Las Vegas, and I hope my Raiders do well. But watching them play last week, the Tampa Bay defense, that is, they're fast to the ball, they're big up front. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with in reality and fantasy for the rest of the season, and they're coming together at the right time. Their secondary is good, their linebackers are attacking, defensive line, I picked them up. And also, if you watch the 49er Ram game on Sunday, Mostert goes out with a high ankle sprain. Those are 4 to 6 weeks on the IR. And now they have a player they have called up to take his, maybe not to take his place, but it's an interesting situation for the 49ers. First of all, you never really know who's going to be running the ball, okay? They've got Jerick McKinnon, who should be stepping back into the starting role. But on Sunday, JaMycal Hasty comes into the game after the Mostert injury. He rushed 9 times for 37 yards and looked really fast, really strong. I think, and I'm recommending if you're in a fantasy league where JaMycal Hasty is available and you have a roster spot where you can burn it, JaMycal Hasty is worth taking a flyer on. Did I say start him this week? No, I didn't say that. I said he's worth taking a flyer on. Put him on your roster. Let's see how it plays out this week with the 49ers. If you've got Jerick McKinnon and Hasty, like I do in my league, I think you've covered it pretty well. They should be the 2 most likely candidates to get the ball in the 49er offense. And frankly, the 49ers, the way they looked against the Dolphins 2 weeks ago and the way they looked against the Rams this past week, 2 totally different teams. Totally different. Good morning, Lenny Melnick. Good to see you on StreamYard this morning. And good morning to my friends in our chat room, on our webpage, our Lenny Melnick Fantasy Sports page. You guys in the chat room are always awesome. It's great to see you with me this morning, talking about baseball, talking about football. It's that time of year where there's a whole lot to talk about. and just a little bit of time to do it, right? Lenny and I have had this conversation, how we could do this every day, time allowing, how much fun it is to get on the air, talk about our sports teams, sit in here with my Yankee ghost behind me. You see Rivera and Derek Jeter above my head, and just have fun. And that's what this is all about. Sharing information, talking about what might happen tonight in the World Series, going over some of these fantasy football props, potential players on the waiver wire, and you guys are just great. And you know, this is like I'm close to 200 episodes. It's like, wow. It's been really awesome. You guys are great. So thank you for that. Thank you for being with me today on this Tuesday, October 20th. I'm going to be back on Thursday. We're going to have 2 World Series games under the belt. Remember, I'm saying the Rays win game 1. I think the Dodgers take game 2. Probably will go the other way around. But anyway, I'm saying Thursday morning when I'm with you, we're going to have a knotted 1-1 World Series. That's my prediction. 1-1. And let's watch those players that I'm talking about today. Let's watch how those bullpens perform. It could be the strength in the Rays case. It could be the Achilles heel in the Dodgers case. We'll talk about it on Thursday, right back here on Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports. Have a great day, everybody.